For thousands of years, Earth was a forgotten relic in the vast, uncharted territories of the universe. Other species in the galaxy had long since moved on to explore the stars, colonizing distant planets and forming mighty empires that stretched across the cosmos. Earth, once home to humanity, now seemed like a pale whisper of a once dominant species. But the humans, despite their apparent insignificance in the eyes of the galaxy, were not forgotten, though most believed they were gone for good. The Galactic Empire, known for its ruthless expansion and iron-fisted rule, never paid any mind to Earth. The human race had been wiped out, their homeworld destroyed in an unknown cataclysm. No one knew the true history of Earth's downfall, and it became little more than a myth, a cautionary tale lost to time. But beneath that myth, the truth was far more dangerous, more deadly, than anyone could imagine. The Empire had already carved out its place in the galaxy, its reach extending to thousands of worlds and countless species. The galaxy had been shaped by the Empire's ruthless campaigns, and it ruled with the belief that might made right, that the strong would dominate the weak. For centuries, there was no one to challenge them. They imposed their laws, their systems, their order over planets and systems, bringing those who resisted into line with overwhelming force. But the Empire had made one critical mistake: they underestimated the one species they thought was long gone. The return of humanity. It began when a series of strange signals appeared in deep space weak transmissions, faint but constant, radiating from the long-dead planet Earth. At first, they were dismissed as space anomalies or a strange form of cosmic interference. But when the transmissions began to increase in strength, the Empire took notice. Their advanced intelligence network tracked the signals to their source, Earth. The Galactic Empire, ever confident in its supremacy, assumed that whatever civilization had once lived on Earth was no longer a threat. Their historians had long believed the planet to be a barren, lifeless rock, destroyed by some unknown disaster millennia ago. What could a long-dead species possibly matter to the Empire now? And yet, humanity had a legacy, an undeniable, unshakable legacy. The signals from Earth were nothing but a beacon. They called for attention. They called for a reckoning. The Empire had no idea what they were about to face. As Empire ships neared Earth, they found the planet utterly transformed. It was no longer a ruined wasteland, as they'd been led to believe. Instead, it had been hidden from the galaxy's eyes, protected, restored, and now brimming with life once more. Humanity had returned, but not in the form the Empire had anticipated. The Earth that was once destroyed had been rebuilt, its survivors not just resilient but formidable. The humans who remained were not the weak, fragile beings the Empire had dismissed as extinct. They were survivors, those who had adapted, learned, and evolved in ways no one could have predicted. They were humans who had rebuilt their world, reclaimed their place in the cosmos, and honed their strength over thousands of years. The technology they now commanded was beyond anything the Empire had seen, and their resolve was unwavering. The message from Earth was clear, and it would echo through the galaxy: stay away from Earth. The warning. The first warning came in the form of a broadcast sent to the Empire's leaders, transmitted across the galaxy on frequencies that no one could ignore. It was a simple message, short and direct, but it carried a weight of authority that no one could dispute. Stay away from Earth. It was signed, not by a government or a ruler, but by the humans, a declaration from the species itself, an ultimatum that shook the foundations of the Galactic Empire. The message was received with confusion at first, then with rising concern. Who was this? What species dared to send such a warning? The Empire's leaders laughed at the audacity of the humans. But deep down, something stirred, a primal sense of recognition, of danger. In the Empire's war rooms, leaders convened to discuss this unexpected turn of events. The name Earth had always been an afterthought in their records, and the mention of it seemed like a footnote in galactic history. But the message sent by the humans was one that was far from insignificant. The Empire's military might, vast and overwhelming as it was, had never faced an enemy like this. The question spread quickly through the upper echelons of the Empire: how could humanity, a species thought extinct, possibly be so bold as to send a warning to one of the most powerful empires the galaxy had ever known? A species reborn. The humans who had survived the destruction of Earth were not the same as the ones who had built the ancient civilizations that had once ruled the planet. The destruction of their world had forced them to evolve, adapt, and reinvent their society. They had developed new technologies, tapped into new powers, and learned to survive in ways the Empire could not have imagined. Humanity had once been capable of great technological feats. They had walked on the moon, created machines that could harness the power of the atom, and ventured beyond their own solar system. But they had also been their own worst enemy, destroying their planet in the process. After the collapse, only a small number of humans had remained hidden in secret cities and space stations, biding their time. These survivors had made the choice to not just rebuild, but to evolve. They had learned from their past mistakes. No longer divided by nations or ideologies, humanity had united under a single banner, a common cause to rebuild their species, to find a place in the galaxy, and to make sure no one ever again threatened their homeworld. Humanity had studied the galaxy's history, learned the lessons of past empires, and developed technologies that had been kept secret for centuries. Their scientists had mastered the ability to manipulate matter at the subatomic level, allowing them to create weapons that could disable entire fleets in the blink of an eye. They had developed stealth technology so advanced that not even the most sophisticated Empire sensors could detect their ships. More importantly, the humans had learned how to wield their greatest strength, anger, the kind of righteous fury that came from surviving unimaginable hardship. They were a species whose survival was built on resilience, tenacity, and an unbreakable will to protect their own. This was something that no empire could understand. The Galactic Empire had conquered worlds for thousands of years, but it had never encountered an enemy like humanity, one that had not only survived the annihilation of its homeworld, but had risen from the ashes stronger than before. The Empire responds. In the grand war room of the Empire's central command, the Emperor himself, Naroketh, a being of immeasurable power and intellect, watched the broadcast. His eyes, burning with the cold fire of ancient wisdom, studied the message carefully. "Stay away from Earth." The words echoed in his mind, reverberating through the chambers. Naroketh had conquered thousands of civilizations. He had obliterated species who had dared to stand in his way, his armies leaving no survivors in their wake. Yet this was different. There was a gravitas to the message, a weight that suggested something beyond the ordinary. The humans, if they truly were the species that had once inhabited Earth, were a relic of a bygone era. They had been wiped out, or so the galaxy had believed. But this was no mere relic. This was a species that had not only survived, but had come back stronger than ever. Naroketh, ever the pragmatist, could not afford to underestimate them. They had sent a warning, and the warning could not be ignored. The consequences of angering humanity were unclear, but that made them all the more dangerous. For the first time in centuries, the Emperor hesitated. He did not command immediate action against Earth. Instead, he called for the Imperial Council, where the galaxy's most powerful generals, strategists, and diplomats would meet to discuss how to deal with the humans. The council convened in secret. A cold, calculating atmosphere filled the chamber as the Emperor's closest advisors debated the next steps. Some argued for immediate retaliation. After all, Earth had been presumed dead. Others cautioned restraint, worried about the unknown factors that humanity might possess. They could not risk an all-out war without understanding their true capabilities. As the debate raged on, one question loomed above all others: what could humanity possibly want with a galaxy they had once abandoned? The answer, as it turned out, was simple and terrifying. Humanity wanted something they had always sought: to be left alone. Their warning wasn't a declaration of war. It wasn't a challenge to the Empire's rule. It was a promise, a vow that Earth would never again be threatened by external forces. The message wasn't about domination. It was about preservation. Humanity was no longer interested in fighting for empire. They had learned their lesson from the past. But if anyone dared to threaten Earth again, humanity would show them just how deadly a species could be when it had nothing left to lose. The tension unfolds. The Emperor, Neroketh, stared into the holographic map of the galaxy, his hands clasped behind his back, silently weighing the words of his most trusted advisors. The Galactic Empire was a beast, vast and untouchable, yet it had now encountered something unlike any adversary it had ever known, a species that demanded respect without presenting a grand display of power, a species that had once been annihilated but had somehow found its way back. Humanity's message, simple yet profound, had set off a chain of events. Stay away from Earth. It was a warning, not a threat, and that made it all the more unsettling. The Empire had been built on strength, and feared that they were so powerful, so entrenched in the fabric of the galaxy, that no one dared to question their dominance. But now, they had a species that wasn't afraid of them. Perhaps it is time to remind them of their place, General Turathar, a brutal and unyielding military leader, suggested, his voice low but filled with confidence. We can destroy their planet in an instant. We've done it before. But the Emperor shook his head, his eyes narrowing with cold calculation. This is different. They've already shown they are not like the others. There is more to this situation than we currently understand. We will not act rashly. We need to observe, assess, and if necessary, negotiate. Negotiate? General Turathar's voice was incredulous. With a species that dares to give us demands? They should be made an example of, immediately. They need to know who rules this galaxy. Neroketh turned slowly, his piercing gaze locking with the general's. Do not mistake caution for weakness. We are not invincible. The humans were not merely destroyed, they were erased. Whatever remains of them has been rebuilt, and it is clear they have learned from their past. We cannot risk underestimating them. The room fell silent as the weight of the Emperor's words sank in. The fate of Earth, of humanity itself, was hanging in the balance, and the decision made in this chamber would set the course for the future of the galaxy. The gathering storm. Meanwhile, on Earth, the response to the Empire's rumblings was not one of fear, but of quiet preparation. President Lila Hartley, the leader of the humans who had taken charge after Earth's rebirth, stood before a small assembly of military leaders and diplomats. Her face, calm and composed, betrayed none of the urgency of the situation, yet her voice carried the gravity of their circumstances. We are not like the others, President Hartley said, her eyes scanning the faces of the men and women gathered around the war room table. The Galactic Empire is vast, and it is powerful, but they do not understand us. We are not just a people who survived, we are a species that has evolved from the ashes. They think they can intimidate us. But let me be clear, Earth is off limits, and any attempt to force their hand will result in consequences that will make them rethink their very existence. Hartley's words were met with nods of agreement, but the tension in the room was palpable. Humanity had lived for millennia in the shadow of their own mistakes, buried under the weight of their past wars, their self-inflicted destruction. But Earth was no longer that fragile, uncertain planet. They had rebuilt themselves, becoming stronger, more intelligent, and far more resilient than anyone could have imagined. We must prepare for every eventuality, General Toby Halston said, a veteran of countless battles. The Empire will test us. They will not simply walk away from this. If we are to survive, we must be ready to defend Earth at all costs. You're right, President Hartley agreed. Our message was clear, but that doesn't mean they'll respect it. We'll need to show them that humanity is not a species to be trifled with. The first encounter. Days turned to weeks as the Empire deliberated. In that time, humanity made its own preparations. They studied the Empire's movements, learning everything they could about its fleet, its tactics, its technologies. They had allies from species who had long been neutral in galactic affairs, species who had once been prey to the Empire's expansionist policies but had been too far removed from the Empire's grasp to be truly conquered. These species now lent their knowledge and their support to humanity, helping to augment Earth's defenses. And then, the Empire came. A fleet of colossal warships, dwarfing even the greatest ships of humanity's own design, arrived at the edges of Earth's solar system. These ships were adorned with the insignia of the Galactic Empire, imposing, unyielding, and gleaming with an aura of invincibility. The fleet didn't just enter the system, it dominated it, as if to remind the humans of their place. They had come to deliver a message of their own. Humanity's sensors picked up the fleet well before it arrived, but the decision had already been made. President Hartley and General Halston were already preparing their own message. The human fleet, smaller but more advanced, had been quietly mobilizing in secret. Earth's defenses were no longer what they had been during the time of the Krakener War, or even during the last years before humanity's near extinction. They had adapted, and they had evolved. As the Empire's fleet came within striking distance of Earth, a transmission was sent, this time not from the humans' war room, but from the surface of the planet itself, from Earth's heart, from the very people who had rebuilt their world. The message was simple, yet filled with a weight that reverberated across the stars. This is Earth. You've been warned. Leave now, or we will not hesitate to defend ourselves. The Empire's fleet halted, waiting, calculating. They had never before encountered such a defiant species. Neroketha's voice was calm as he spoke to his council. Their courage is notable, but courage alone does not determine survival. General Turadhar, always quick to act, urged the Emperor to strike immediately, to crush humanity before they could build any further defenses. But Neroketh, as always, tempered his words with restraint. We will not move against them unless provoked. Let us see if this is the act of defiance of a species of desperation, or if they truly have the means to back up their threat. The humans' defense. The hours stretched into days as the two sides faced off in tense silence. Earth's fleet was assembled in high orbit, a mix of new human warships and their allies' factions that had long watched the empires rise from the shadows and who now saw humanity as a symbol of resistance. The Empire's ships hovered ominously in the void, their vast forms casting dark shadows over Earth's moon. But it wasn't just the fleet that would stand in the way of the Empire. The humans had developed a new form of planetary defense that was as much a symbol of their technological evolution as it was a warning to the Empire. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, humanity had constructed vast, hidden weapon platforms designed not just to protect their homeworld, but to incapacitate any force that would dare to invade. The final message. As the Empire's fleet drew closer, Neroketh made his decision. A final broadcast was sent, not from the humans' military, but from President Hartley herself. The message was broadcast on all frequencies, resonating across the stars. To the Galactic Empire, you have entered our space. You have tested our resolve. And now, you will understand the consequences of your actions. Earth is not yours to conquer, nor is it yours to destroy. We were once a species that forgot its own strength, but we have found it again. And we will not allow you to undo the work of millennia. You've had your warning. Leave Earth now or face the consequences. The response from the Empire was swift. We will not bow to threats. Humanity has no place in the galaxy. Prepare for our judgment. And then, the first shots were fired. The wrath of humanity. The first shots were fired not from the human ships, but from the deep, buried defense systems of Earth itself. The Empire's fleet had underestimated the humans once again, believing them to be little more than a species fighting out of desperation. But Earth was not merely surviving, it was thriving, rebuilt beyond anything the galaxy could have imagined. As the Empire's fleet loomed above Earth, ready to make their first strike, humanity's planetary defense system activated with a speed and precision that shocked even the most hardened Imperial generals. Buried deep beneath Earth's surface, a network of advanced energy weapons sprang to life, the bright pulses of directed energy shooting up toward the invaders. The blasts were devastating, tearing through Imperial warships with a ferocity that seemed almost unthinkable given the humans' supposed weakness. The Empire's ships tried to retaliate, but they were caught off guard. The humans' defenses were not just advanced, they were coordinated. The Earth-based weapons, in tandem with the human fleet now positioning itself in high orbit, created a barrage of firepower that outpaced the Empire's initial response. As the Empire's ships recoiled from the first volleys, they realized with growing horror that this wasn't a planet of primitive survivors. This was a world of people who had learned the hard lessons of their past and evolved in ways the galaxy had never seen. The battle in the void. The humans' fleet, though outnumbered, fought with a precision and unity that baffled the Empire. Their ships, sleek and powerful, darted in and out of combat, using advanced stealth technology to evade the Empire's sensors. The ships themselves were like a new breed of hunter, agile and deadly, built for a war they had never hoped to fight yet now. They fought with the fury of a species who had once been brought to the brink of annihilation and had risen, unbroken. General Turathar, always eager for battle, urged an immediate full-scale assault. "Send everything we have at them," he growled, his voice seething with contempt. "We will crush them. The humans are nothing more than dust in the wind." The Emperor, however, was not so hasty. He watched as the tide of the battle shifted. Humanity was holding its own, and their capabilities were proving far beyond what he had anticipated. He had never seen such tenacity, such strength, from a species that was thought to be extinct. "Patience," Naroketh commanded, his tone cold and calculating. "We will not win this by sheer force alone. Humanity is playing a different kind of game, a game of strategy, of intellect. They do not fight like the others we have conquered. Their defense is not just military, it is personal. We need to understand that." But as the battle waged on, the Empire's fleet began to take heavy losses. The humans' technological advantage, new, evolved weaponry designed specifically for their defense, was proving more than a match for the Empire's once invincible ships. And with every blow, humanity's message rang louder across the galaxy. A stubborn resolve. Back on Earth, President Hartley watched as the battle unfolded. She stood in a high-tech command center beneath the surface of the planet, her gaze unwavering as she saw our people's efforts bear fruit. General Halston stood beside her, looking at the tactical displays. The humans had fought wars before, but this was unlike anything they had experienced. The stakes were not just survival, but the future of their species and their homeworld. "They're underestimating us," Lila, Halston said, his voice grim but tinged with pride. "They think we're just trying to survive. But we're showing them we're not just surviving. We're thriving." Hartley nodded slowly, her mind racing with the implications. "This is about more than just Earth," she said softly. "This is about the galaxy understanding that humanity will not be a footnote in its history anymore. We will stand as equals, or not at all." The humans' defense system continued to hammer at the Imperial fleet, and the tide began to turn in Earth's favor. The Empire's warships, unable to counter the precise, coordinated attacks, started retreating, pulling back from Earth's atmosphere. They hadn't expected to face this kind of resistance. But even as they withdrew, the Empire was not finished. The power of their military might, their fleets, their advanced technology, was still a force to be reckoned with. The call for negotiation. Hours turned into days, and the standoff between the humans and the Empire persisted. The humans had proven their strength, but Naroketh knew that this battle could not end in total destruction. Earth was more valuable than just a conquest, it was now a symbol. The Emperor saw the writing on the wall. The cost of subjugating Earth would be too great, not just in military terms, but in diplomatic and psychological terms as well. What would it mean for the Empire to crush a species so resilient, so united? In a rare move, Naroketh initiated a direct transmission to Earth, a message not of aggression, but of negotiation. It was his final attempt to avoid further escalation. "Humans," Naroketh's voice boomed through every communication channel, "you have proven yourselves formidable in defense of your world. I do not seek your destruction, but you must understand, the Galactic Empire will not allow insubordination. You have been given the chance to bow to our rule. Refuse, and you will face the full weight of our power. I will offer you one chance to submit. Stand down, and we can avoid further conflict." The transmission was met with stunned silence. General Halston turned to Hartley, uncertainty flashing across his face. Are they serious? After all of this, they expect us to just kneel to them? Hartley's gaze was unwavering. No. They may offer us a chance, but their terms are simple. They expect us to surrender. But we are not those humans anymore. They will learn that. Her voice was firm, filled with resolve. There is no negotiation here. We don't give in to threats. We won't be controlled. And Earth will never again be ruled by an empire. In a public address, broadcast across the galaxy, President Hartley's voice rang out. To the Galactic Empire, you've been given your chance. Your offer is rejected. We will not bow to tyranny. Earth is not yours to rule. If you seek war, you shall have it. But know this, we fight not for survival, but for our future. And we will not be defeated. The Emperor's eyes narrowed as he listened to the broadcast, the weight of humanity's resolve settling over him like a shadow. He had expected resistance, yes. But what humanity had shown was more than resistance. It was defiance in its purest form. The stakes were no longer about conquest. They were about identity. The Empire had underestimated humanity's will to protect its home, its pride, its future. And now, there was no turning back. The war ahead. The conflict was far from over. The Galactic Empire would not simply retreat into the shadows. The final battle was yet to come. The war for Earth had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war begins. The message from President Hartley was clear. Earth would not submit. The threat from the Galactic Empire was not something humanity would bow to, not after surviving so much, rebuilding so much, and reclaiming their place in the galaxy. The Empire had underestimated them, but now, the true test had begun. And it was a test of not just military might, but of humanity's unyielding spirit. The response from the Empire was swift. Naroketh, seeing humanity's refusal to yield, issued his orders for full-scale invasion. The Emperor's pride had been wounded, and now Earth would feel the consequences. He could not allow any species to defy the Empire and live to tell the tale. Earth was the symbol of humanity's defiance, and the Empire could not allow a symbol of resistance to stand. But humanity's resolve was equally firm. The war had begun in earnest. The battle for Earth would not be a single event, it would be a protracted struggle that would test every fiber of humanity's will to survive. A galaxy at war. The first phase of the invasion came quickly. The Empire's warships, with their enormous firepower and formidable weaponry, descended upon Earth in waves. They came in massive fleets, hundreds of ships descending like locusts, each one brimming with troops, weapons, and technology capable of reducing Earth to rubble. But humanity had prepared. Every continent had been fortified. Every major city had been turned into a bastion of defense. The humans had already proved their military ingenuity during the initial battle, but now it was time to go on the offensive. The Earth fleet had been assembled. While small in number compared to the Empire's armada, it was swift and deadly. It wasn't just human ships that filled Earth's space. Allied species once neutral or subjugated by the Empire stood with humanity. The Krakener, the Ascari, and the Neorxi, once crushed beneath the boot of the Empire, now stood side by side with the humans. They had suffered long enough under the Empire's tyranny and had watched humanity's rise with hope. Now, they saw a chance to strike back. The first battles were brutal. The Empire's fleets, vast and overwhelming, began firing upon Earth's defenses. But the humans were not unprepared. They had developed their own advanced weapons, powered by a fusion of old-world technology and newfound innovations. The planet's surface trembled as massive energy shields activated, protecting the cities, repelling enemy fire with blistering intensity. The battles were fierce, but the humans, driven by the sheer determination to protect their home, fought with an intensity the Empire had never seen. The human fleet clashed with the Empire's ships in deep space. The once invincible Imperial warships were now struggling against the guerrilla tactics of humanity's ships, smaller, nimbler, and far more unpredictable. The humans had mastered stealth technology, allowing them to infiltrate the Empire's fleets undetected, striking at their weak points and disappearing before the Empire could retaliate. A glimmer of hope. The tide of war was turning. The first victory was achieved not on the battlefield, but in the hearts and minds of the galaxy. The message from Earth was not just one of survival, it was one of resistance, unity, and determination. The Galactic Empire, in its overconfidence, had underestimated the power of human unity. The galactic underdogs, once oppressed and cowed, began to rise. They were tired of living under the boot of the Empire, tired of being subjugated to a cold, uncaring rule. Earth's defiance had sparked something in them, a fire, a hope that they too could break free from the Empire's grasp. The Ascari fleet, once enslaved by the Empire, joined the humans in full force. Their ships, designed for stealth and sabotage, wreaked havoc on the Empire's supply lines, cutting off vital resources. The Krakener, known for their brute strength, delivered crushing blows to the Empire's warships, smashing through their armor with devastating firepower. The Neorxi, a race of brilliant tacticians, provided the human forces with strategic guidance, turning the tides of battle in favor of the resistance. The Empire, despite its superior numbers, was now facing a united front that it had never encountered before. This was not just a military war, it was a war for the future of the galaxy. Humanity had given the Empire one warning. Now, they were making good on their promise to defend their home at all costs. The Emperor's Dilemma. Nerokith stood in the center of his war room, watching the holographic displays of battle after battle. His empire, once unchallenged, was faltering. The reports were clear: Earth was not just surviving, it was fighting back and winning. General Turadhar, the Emperor called, his voice cold and calculating. "Tell me, what have we missed?" Turadhar, standing at attention, his face hardened from years of conquest, answered with a measured tone. "The humans. They are not like the others. Their resolve is beyond what we anticipated. They fight with a purpose we have not seen before. It's not just about survival. It's about a new order." Nerokith turned to face Turadhar, his eyes narrowing. "What are you suggesting, General?" Turadhar paused before speaking. "The humans have something we do not. They fight for their home, for their people. They have united their world in a way we cannot even comprehend. The Empire's power is built on domination, but this war is different. It's not just about military might, it's about something deeper. They fight for hope." Nerokith's eyes darkened, the weight of Turadhar's words settling heavily in his chest. Hope, the one thing the Empire had systematically crushed across the galaxy. The one thing that could never be controlled. It was something that could never be bought, and it was something the Empire could never understand. The battle for Earth's soul. The war raged on, and the Empire's military continued to assault Earth with overwhelming force, but humanity refused to yield. The once vibrant cities were now battlefields, their streets filled with the wreckage of war, yet their spirits remained unbroken. Every human, every species that had allied with them fought with the knowledge that they were not just fighting for survival, but for their right to exist, to be free from the oppression of the Empire. The Earth-based defenses, powered by humanity's cutting-edge technology, continued to repel the Empire's efforts. But the war was reaching a new phase. The Empire was now resorting to its most devastating weapons, deploying planetary bombardments aimed at breaking humanity's resolve once and for all. They believed that if they could destroy Earth's surface, humanity's spirit would crumble. They were wrong. Humanity's most powerful weapon was not their technology, nor their fleets. It was the will of every human who stood and fought, knowing that the fate of their world and the fate of the galaxy was in their hands. The humans had learned from their past, from their mistakes, and they had rebuilt something more powerful than just machines. They had rebuilt hope, and that hope would be their greatest weapon. As the Empire prepared for its final assault on Earth's surface, President Hartley made one final broadcast across the galaxy. Her voice, filled with defiance and strength, echoed through the stars. "We are not your subjects. We are not your slaves. And Earth will not fall. The Empire may destroy our cities, our ships, our defenses, but it will never destroy us. We are the humans who once ruled the stars, and we will not go quietly into the void. If you want war, you will have it. But know this, you will never break us." The Galactic Empire, having underestimated humanity, launched its most devastating assault on Earth, believing that crushing the planet would break humanity's spirit. Yet, as the Empire unleashed its full might bombarding cities, overwhelming the surface with planetary bombardments, they found that Earth's true strength was not in its technology or military might, but in the resilience of its people. Despite the destruction, humanity fought on, refusing to bow to the Empire's demands. United with their allies, the Krakener, Ascari, and Niorxi, the humans waged a war not just for survival, but for their future in the galaxy. They fought with a purpose the Empire could not understand, for hope, for freedom, and for the right to live on their own terms. President Lila Hartley's message echoed through the galaxy, louder than any weapon: "We are not your subjects. We will not fall." The tide of the war shifted as the Empire's forces faltered. The Empire's superior numbers and overwhelming technology could not overcome humanity's unity and spirit. Finally, the Empire realized that this war was not one they could win through sheer force alone. In a moment of reckoning, Neroketh, the Emperor, faced a choice: continue the fight and risk the annihilation of his forces, or pull back and reconsider humanity's place in the galaxy. The Empire had underestimated the one thing humanity possessed that was far more powerful than any weapon: hope. The Emperor, for the first time, was forced to reckon with the truth: humanity was not a species to be controlled. Earth would stand free. The galaxy would never be the same.